Okay, so this video is going to give you a very brief overview of how to approach the practice problem, just kind of setting you up. Now, the first item that you'll want to print, and these are all located in the course black page under practice problem materials. This is a Word document that has what we call the source document, lists all of the transactions that the company will go through that you are required to record and deal with on an accounting level. So, it has dates. Make sure you're also cognizant of the dates. For the first assignment, you are only required to do up to the end of March. And so it has additional information. This will come into, don't start April 1st. This is going to be assignment number two. So don't get ahead of yourself and think that you have to do the entire thing. I just have all of it put together so that, you have it in one place. So we're only January 1st to March 1st, assignment number one. Now, in addition to this, you're also going to want to print off the templates. The templates are organized in an Excel file with multiple workbooks, or just one workbook that has multiple pages on it. One page is a general journal. Another page will have ledger accounts in it. And then the final third page will have your unadjusted trial balance in it. This is, I sort of shrunk the general journal down and the ledgers down and everything so that they fit with assignment number one. So make sure that you print these off. Now, when you print them landscape, or else you won't get all of them off. You won't be able to fit everything on there. It'll truncate the debit and credit columns. So make sure you select landscape when you're printing that. Also select landscape when you're printing your T accounts, the ledger as well. I printed these just a couple just to walk you through to show you how I want things recorded. The other thing is, yes, I do want you to print these and to handwrite them for at least assignment number one. For assignment number two, you may type them into Excel and use the Excel features in order to finish assignment number two and to complete assignment number two. However, I want you guys to actually write it out. There is something that you gain in writing versus typing in terms of learning, storing, being able to access information that I think is just simply lost whenever we type. So that will be for assignment number one. I'm trying to think if there's any other details that I wanted to address. I believe that's it. Go ahead and log the first transaction. So if you're doing this, I would go ahead and have everything printed out. You would have your journal, your source document, and even the ledgers. Now, one thing to think about, when you print all of these ledgers, I only have two of the accounts printed, but you're going to have multiple accounts printed. I would go ahead, print them all, and then staple them so that you have them all well organized. You don't have to staple them right away, but when you turn them in, certainly staple them so that I don't have a bunch of loose papers that I'm going through. You will have 3 pages of journals. It's exactly similar to this. Also staple those together. All of this is on the actual assignment document, so make sure you read that and turn it in appropriately, because that's just stuff you got to pay attention to. You got to be detail oriented. You got to do what people ask of you. That's part of being a good student. That's part of being a good worker. So let's look at this first account. We got our T accounts off to the side, our ledger, we got our journal, we got our source document. The owner, Chris, began financing operations on January 1st, 2019 with an initial personal investment of $250,000. All right, so we have a date column. Obviously, we want to put the date of the transaction, 1/1. You could include the 19, but since we're going to be operating all within 2019, it's not really that necessary. What accounts are involved? Now we have to create the journal entry. We're going to put all of the accounts here. Of course, a column for debit numbers, a column for credit numbers. If we're financing our operations by the owner investing $250,000 in the company is receiving cash, and we're going to credit that it is now an investment into the company. Correct? We have a capital account, and the capital account we're going to use, you might be a little like, well, which one should I use? If you're ever in doubt of what account title to use, and always check what account title you want to use, look at the T accounts. They have the account you're going to need. In this case, it's the name of the company, Viezuchter Company, capital. Right. That's an equity account, and now the company actually has equity. Right? The company has cash. That cash was given to the company, and the company records ownership investment, and Chris is the one who is the owner. Now, notice that I have some space here. You wouldn't draw this on your copy, but notice that there's some space here between where I put the debit account and where I put the credit account. I absolutely want that space there. We absolutely have to get in the practice of making sure we differentiate debits and credits, not just by where the numbers in the column go, but also where the account information, the account titles are placed. Now you would go to the next one, and the next one has the corporation immediately acquiring a shop for $230,000 as a base of operations. They put down $30,000 in cash and signed a $200,000 10-year 4% note for the remainder. Now, this is a new transaction. It happened on the same day, but it's a new transaction. You date it again 1/1. Right, same day. How did you know? Because it's at January 1st. All these are at January 1st. Then you would start making the journal entry. I'm not going to walk you through any more of these. You got the initial one. But now you would put whatever your debit account is, put it, I would have even flushed cash more closely to this. But as long as you have debit and accreditation account, so then you would write the debit account, blah, 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 blah. Then you have, actually in this one, and I'll give you a hint, you have two credit. And then again, providing the space, making sure everything's lining up nice and neatly. Please exercise the neatest possible penmanship that you can. Some of y'all write like second graders. I haven't even really seen a lot of your writing yet, but I can already tell you some of you do. It's like you've never been asked to write before. You look like you just learned this art 2 days ago when you've been practicing it almost for 20 years. Please put some effort into presenting neat work. It just smacks of inattention and lack of care when you don't. So, right? That's the general journal. Now, when you are transferring to the ledger, I'm going to go ahead and transfer this particular transaction over. We go to the assets, the assets section. Cash is the account that we're going to record it in. We take the cash amount on 1/1. We had a debit to cash of $250,000. That's all you need to do for this column. There was no credit yet. Later on, you might have a credit to cash. So, and this is not truth. This is not the case. I'm just doing it to show you how this account will work. I'll put it in orange so that you know not to worry about it. Just as an example that this isn't actually, because you won't be like, oh gosh, where's the 1/4? I didn't do this right. So let's say that on January 4th, some made up transaction, credited, we $75,000. I journaled it, and now I'm putting it over the list. I want to do this just to show you how it works. So the credit was in the journal entry that I didn't make because this doesn't exist. I'm just doing this for example purposes. On 1/1, the balance of this account was $250,000. But on 1/4, after I debit this and then credit that, now the balance has dropped. It went from 250, reduce it by 75,000. It's now $175,000 of a debit balance at that point. And so as you add more transaction to this, the balance of this will shift, right? Once you get to a certain point, you'll have an adjusted balance. I mean, you'll have the unadjusted balance, you'll have the adjusted balance, you'll have the closing balance. And I have designations on the assignment one rules and procedures to indicate when those balances are. So if this were an adjusted balance or then it would just be a AB, I believe is how I have you do it. Adjusted balance or post-closing balance or an unadjusted balance. So when you make those designations, eventually you won't have to worry. The only designation you would make here is an adjusted balance. All right. Finally, when you have all the entries, oh, I forgot, go ahead and do the capital part. Right now we had also on this journal entry 1-1, we had a credit to the capital account of $250,000. Notice the capital T account has far fewer entries because there's far fewer transactions that involve capital, just in general, but also in this problem. And that would be a $250,000 credit balance. All right. And I believe that will be it. Oh, one more item is that after you've entered in all your transactions and you come to your adjusted, remember that's what you want to put into your unadjusted trial balance, right? So if $250,000 was our unadjusted balance, meaning that this was cash up into the adjusting entry, then that's the balance you would drop into your trial balance. You would have the account cash. You would have its total debit be $250,000. There's also some explanation of this in the module 2.1 videos that I'm going to upload as well. 2.1 goes through steps 1 through 3. If you're having issues with these basic entries, first make sure you start really preparing for this exam, because these are all entries that you should be familiar with. One of the best ways you can go back to some entries is going through case number 2 of the first problem set. That goes through a ton of basic journal entries with inventory, with capital, with dividends. That will be where you can test yourself and see how much you know. And if you don't know those, you need to go back to some of your principles of financial accounting material. I hope you didn't sell that book back, because apparently you didn't learn enough from it. And selling it back at this point would have been a little premature because you don't know what you covered in that course. All right. If you don't have that book and you're reeling, the best text I would find a used text online that has that's a principles book, or I would just go ahead and buy the text that I recommended, Intermediate Accounting. It does have as of a review of some of the basic journal entries, but it's better than nothing at this point. I don't prepare my outlines of notes to really go over the simple basic journal entries, because that's prerequisite information to this course. Again, this is why I want to hold you to a standard, because we can't this go on anymore where people get passed along without really knowing what they're doing, and then getting into a course and then feeling lost because the professor's like, wait a minute, you were supposed to know this. That's just kind of how it works now. So I'm trying to make sure I give you all the information you can and catch you up. I'm here to help you. I'm here to explain anything. I just unfortunately don't have a lot of materials that cover basic journal entries from Principles of Financial Accounting, and I apologize for that. But I am here to help explain them, and I do have case number 2 from the first problem set to help you try to do as many of those as possible and figure out how they work. But you do have to ask me some of the questions, like, why did you do it this way, for me to really help you learn them. All right. So that's that. And I hope you guys start off well on this practice problem. Like I said, it's a bear at first. It's a lot of stuff at first, but I think you will appreciate it. Students have told me that repeatedly. They hated it at first, they hated me for it at first, and then at the end of the course, they realized it was a great tool to help them learn. All right, thank you.